Pterodactyl here, and you grass rats need to be following me on Facebook and Instagram so you can keep up to date on all the latest things that's going on here at the shop. So go to Facebook and Instagram and follow me right now. Come on, follow me. And there's your dinner. Woo! Facebook and Instagram, follow me. Whoa! Somebody push me. Pterodactyl here, and this video is going to be on me speeding up the snow kitty. So as you can see, I got the snow kitty all tore apart. And I was going to figure out the gearing so I can make it go faster. And I've done that. I've got it figured out, so I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. So in the other video, part 3, I had this in there, which has cables that would release the tracks so it would freewheel. And I thought I could keep this on there, but I can't. Because I can't, this is a real odd size shaft. And I can't get the right gears to put on here so I can make it go faster. So I have to eliminate this. So I'm eliminating this altogether. So what I'm going to do is, you got to come over here, Mr. Cameraman, is I'm just going to put some sprockets here on this jack shaft. So I'm going to have chains that go from the rear cogs to the jack shaft, and then I'll have another gear on the outside that'll go to the torque converter. And if I got my math right, this thing should go about 18, 19 miles an hour, which might be a little too fast. So I went to this company that I've bought stuff before from. Maybe you know about it, maybe you don't. It's called Surplus Center. So we're going to get a little unboxing video here too. So let me show you what we got from them. Such a big box, you're probably thinking, what did he buy? What's in there? What did he get out of that? So, first thing I bought was some packing paper. I bought a bunch of packing paper. And then I bought this plastic cap. No. I bought a three-foot piece of 3/4 inch keyed axle or round stock because I need a keyway to go all the way across. That axle I used, for those of you that watched the build on this, was an axle shaft out of a transmission, and it was only keyed about that far. So I can cut this because it's 3 feet and then I'll have some left over. Then I bought some more packing paper and some more packing paper. And I bought a catalog and another plastic cap. No. So I bought that 3/4 axle and I bought some sprockets with 3/4 bore. So this is a 32 sprocket because that was the biggest they had with a 3/4 bore. And then I bought another 16 tooth sprocket because I had already bought one previously. So when I did the math on the gearing to get that 18, 19 miles an hour, 16 tooth sprockets here, one here and one there, one on each side, which go to the cogs. And then this 32 sprocket is going to go here, and that's going to go to the torque converter on the engine. Now I sent the top motor plate out because I'm having a friend of mine, Dave, he's going to put some slots in there. He's going to mill some slots in there so I can move the engine, so I can tighten the chain. And another thing, when I go to put these sprockets on this jack shaft, I'm going to have no way to adjust the chain tension on there. So Rotary has these idler sprockets. And this is a 14-tooth idler sprocket from Rotary. And the part number is 737. And they also make a 10-tooth sprocket like this, number 40 or 41 chain. And that part number is 736. So I'm going to put these idler sprockets on here. I'll probably have to cut a slot in this metal so I can slide this idler up and down to put tension on the chains, because the chains are going to be a little loose. And I have to have a way of tightening them, and that's going to be with these idlers. And then we'll put it all back together and see what kind of speed we get out of it, and see if this MTD made most of the components, if they can take that speed. I'm curious to see if it can take the speed or if something's going to fly apart. Or so yeah, we're testing it all out. Should have used that Honda snowblower that I got back there. I should have chopped that one up. That one's got better parts on it. Well, I've got the shaft in there. I cut it to length, our keyed shaft. And I got the chains on, and I got the sprocket. Now I did have to put some additional spacers in here. And one of those shim washers that I bought earlier, in the earlier build. If you look back, I forget, part 2, part 1 or part 2. So that's why it's good to save all that stuff. I save all these little spacers and stuff. So I looked through my little spacer container there, and I found 2 that worked perfect. All I had to do was add that. And then to make sure everything was lined up, before I put the chain on, I just take a straight edge. You put a straight edge across there. I can't show you now because I got the chains on. And it lined up perfect. Then I put my other collars on there and got it locked on. I did have to notch this piece of angle because the chain was rubbing on there. And then I'm going to show you how I arrived at the gear ratio that I did. Because you're probably wondering, well, how do you figure the gear ratio? How do you know how fast it's going to go? How did you figure all that? How? So I'll show you how. All right, I got my idlers that I ordered. This was the 14, this was the 10. Remember I told you I was going to get them? Also in my little box of spacers I found this. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't real hard, so I started to drill it because I need a 3/8 bolt. So what I'll do with this is I'll cut some of this off. And now I can put my idler wherever I decide to put it. Either here or here. But the chains are pretty tight right now. So I'll cut a piece of this. Now I could either bolt it through like that, or I could bolt it through like this because it'll still spin. I'll probably do it this way. And then I'll cut a slot so I can loosen the bolt. And I could slide this up and down in the slot, which will put tension on the chain as the chain starts to stretch. I got lucky and I was able to, I'm using number 40 chain, and I had to add a half link. Now if you don't know what a half link is, I'm going to show you. That's a half a link. Because a lot of people are like, I didn't even know they made a half link. So this is a half link. So here's a single link out of a piece of chain. And sometimes you need just a half a link. So that's what a half link looks like. And you can stick it on there. Now you've added a half a link. And they make them in all sizes of chain. That's amazing. I never knew they made a half link. So when I put that half link in there, it tightened it up. Here's our 32 sprocket here. So now I'm ready to assemble this some more. Put the tracks and stuff back on it. I thought that was money, but that's just slippers. Okay, I left the shaft extended on this side in case I need to add a brake. And here's my brake hub and my brake disc. So I may not have to, but if I have to add a brake, I can add a brake in here. Well, of course it'll go on this side. Go in there like that. Alright, so now I can finish putting this together and we'll try it again. Oh, here's my plates. Here's the bottom plate that the weights went on. I took it over to our local steel place where they got a big hydraulic press and they bent that angle in there. So I'll have that be angled up in the front. And then the other plate where the engine goes is slotted now, so we can adjust the chain for that. So to figure out what size gears I needed, I had to use two different websites. I used this one here, this engine RPM calculator, and I used this BMI Carts gear ratio calculator for jackshaft setup. And then what I had to do was toggle back and forth and keep changing the number of teeth on the gears till I got the final engine or mile per hour that I wanted. So the engine, which would be the torque converter, that's got 10 teeth on it. Jackshaft in, that's the jackshaft that I put in there, that 3/4 shaft. That's the one that's got the 30 tooth on it. Jackshaft out, number of teeth on output sprocket shaft. Those are those two that go to the cogs in the back. Those got 16 teeth. And then the axle is the cog, where the cog wheel is. And those have 24 teeth on it. And then you hit calculate. And I got a 4.5 to 1 final gear ratio. So then I went to this one, since I know I got a 4.5 ratio, I know my engine is set at 3,600 RPM. And then the next thing I wanted to do was tire diameter. So that cog that the track rides on is 7.5 inches. So I typed in 7.5. My drivetrain transmission ratio is 4.5. And that gave me 17.85 miles an hour. Almost 18 miles an hour is how fast that should go. So again, I had to toggle back and forth between these two and keep playing with these numbers. I knew this number 10 was going to be the same because that's on the torque converter, and I knew this number was going to be the same because that's that gear that's welded to that cog shaft, and that's got 24. So I had to keep playing with these two numbers and then keep taking that gear ratio there, that 4.5 to 1, and typing it in here, because I knew my engine ran at 3,600 RPM, and I knew the diameter of the wheel, that cog that the track rides on, I knew that was 7.5 inches. And then by doing that, playing back and forth with those numbers, I got to the mile per hour that I'm comfortable with, which I think is probably going to be plenty fast enough. So if you want to figure out gear ratios, this might help you in doing that like it did me. And there's your dinner. together. And I got my weight. I welded the weight on top of the other weight. And I also went ahead and mounted the brake disc just in case we might need brakes, because it's going to go faster now if I got all my calculations right. And we'll show you a couple pictures of what I did for that. I had to drill some holes to make this disc from a four-wheeler work on there. And then I had to order a caliper with the hose and the brake lever. I got it for less than $30 on eBay, which you know what eBay stands for, don't you? Enough buying already, yee! So here's another thing I want to show you. Because these gears that just have two set screws that mounted to a shaft, sometimes they want to come loose over time. So what I like to do is here's the one for the key, is here. Where is that one for the key? Oh, this is the one for the key. So the one, where's the other one? Here's the key there, and here's the other one. So what I like to do is find a drill that's the same size and drill a little divot . Drill a little divot in the shaft. Don't go all the way through. Just go in a little bit. And then I'll blow that out. So that way, part of this set screw will dig into that shaft. Now I've done that on all of the hubs. I did it on this. I did it on this. I did it on the other sprockets underneath. So that's a little trick that I do. In case the set screws loosen up, at least this one's dug into the shaft a little bit. So now all I got to do is pop the motor on. I got my belt guard on there. And if you have ever bought any of these torque converters, you have to notch out part of the cover for the chain. So I notched out part of the cover. So I'm going to pop the motor on, hook up the chain, hook up the throttle, and let's see if my calculations were right, and let's see if it'll go a lot faster. Well, my calculations were right. It flies. It's got good takeoff speed and everything. Feels like it's got plenty of torque. I do have some snow blower tires this size that got a Meteor tread on out there in the junkyard. So I'll probably swap these tires. Are dry rotted. They keep going flat. So I'll put those snow blower tires on there. So now I need to build an enclosure for the front here. I need to close that in. So of course, I'm going to make a template out of some 30 brick cardstock for the front, and then I'll cut me some pieces of steel and make me an enclosure for the front. It'll probably look a lot better. That's my enclosure I'm going to make. I'll make it out of some 12 gauge steel, which is the same gauge steel as this housing, the original housing. So I'll weld it on the sides here, and then since I got my weight in the middle, which is that 1-inch thick plate, I'll probably just drill a couple of holes in these plates, and then I'll tap that 1-inch weight in the middle, and I'll put 2 bolts in. That way I can take the 2 bolts out and I could just slide this cover off so I could access that cavity in there. So now I need to take my template off that I made out of 30 brick and cut these pieces out of steel. That's why you got to save that 30 brick cardstock. So here's that 12 gauge steel. Now I'm fortunate enough, I got a customer that drives a truck delivering steel, and they cut off these little ends on the rolls. So I got a bunch of pieces over there in the corner, all different gauges, all different thicknesses. So he says they just scrap that stuff or throw it away, so he gave me a bunch of that stuff. And you know, I didn't expect to get it for free, so he wanted his snowblower fixed, so I fixed his snowblower and he gave me a bunch of this steel. Isn't that nice of him? So now all I got to do is put my templates on there. I'll put one there. I'll put this one over here. This one over there. You know, and then I'll draw them out with a Sharpie, as long as I can keep them on there straight. And then I'll cut them out with my 4-inch grinder with a cutoff wheel on it. Okay, here's all my pieces. I cut them out already. And then I fitted them because, you know, even though you make a template, you're going to get close. Then you're going to have to fine tune them a little bit. So I cut them out and I marked the inside with the Sharpie, and then this is that weight that's in the front. And then I was able to drill a hole in it, measured it and drilled a hole, and now I'll drill and tap that weight. So here's the hole I drilled and tapped, 5/16. I want to make this simple, and I want to make it so everything can come apart. So in case I need to work on it, all right. Then I'll take this piece and then I'll just weld this all the way down. Then I'll smooth it out. Now I got this gap in here that I need to fill in. So I had some little bit of flat stock here. This is probably 1/2 inch. And I'll weld that little filler piece on there. I'll weld it from the inside so you won't see the weld on the outside. I'll just tack it on there. Then when I pull it off, I'll weld it, and that'll give it a clean look. And we'll get that all done. And then there's still a lot of other stuff I could do. I mean, it's just endless. I could just keep going on and on. I can add electric start if I want, which I don't think I will, because I could pull start it. I might add a light to the front, because I do have the wire for the headlight from the old snowblower. So maybe I'll add some kind of light to the front. And what else? Oh, the exhaust. Because it does kind of blow. It doesn't really blow in your face, it just blows at you. So I might do something with that. Maybe I'll make a custom stack that just comes straight up. I think that might look cool if I had a stack just sticking straight up, but it's going to make it loud. I don't want it real loud. Might be able to make something like I did on the Ride Master. I made that custom exhaust that came up. So I might mess around with that. But yeah, it's coming along. I'm pretty happy with it now. So that's where we're at. It'll look a lot better with that closed in. So yeah, I'm gonna have to add an air filter to it somehow, because this was a snow blower, but yet I can drive this thing in other weather. Now we got a possible, and I say possible, snowstorm coming. So, you know, if it does come, if we do get snow, then we'll take this thing out and we'll ride it around in the snow. But I don't have too much faith in them weather people. They can predict a storm when it's like 10 minutes away, but not when it's like days away. Well, them weather peoples was right. It started out as rain, and now it's turning to snow and it's starting to stick. We may get as much as 6 to 10 inches. So let's go take a look in the shop and see the progress I'm making on that snow kitty. It's a wet, heavy snow. Well, I went out in the junkyard, I scrounged up some more stuff for the snow kitty. I found an air filter assembly with the choke shaft. I also found a pair of headlights off some junk Chinese quad I had out there for parts. And I've got this all welded up. And it fits like a glove. So I already got it drilled for the headlights. So now I'm going to primer it so it don't rust. And I also put those snowblower tires on there that I had out in the junkyard. All we need is snow, and it's coming. Well, I didn't realize that these Chinese headlights were halogen, and that little alternator on the Snow Kitty engine wasn't enough juice to power them up. So I went up into my light collection and I found an Aaron's headlight with an on-off switch. Brand new. I had one brand new. So I mounted that on there. So now we got the Cyclops Kitty. And it's snowing like crazy out there right now. It's coming down about an inch an hour. So let's go out and play in the snow. Snow Kitty doesn't do too good in this wet, heavy snow. It keeps getting packed up under there. This thing's more better for all-terrain riding. If it was dry, fluffy snow, it'd probably work okay, but this is wet, heavy, packing snow. Snow Kitty's no good in that. All right, Kitty, back in the shop. after that snow disaster, I figured I needed to build something to push the snow away from the front of it so the tracks could dig in. So this is what I came up with. A little v-plow that's going to mount to the front. Again, out of some 12 gauge steel that I built the nose with and some angle iron. Watch it there, Mr. Cameraman. And then of course that was going to obstruct my headlight that I just mounted on there. So I took the original bracket that mounted to the handle on the Aaron snowblower and I stuck it in my Harbor Freight sheet metal brake and I bent a 90 on that existing bracket. So now I'll mount that. That'll sit up higher now, up and out of the way. And then this is going to slide right in here and bolt on. I've got it 2 inches off the ground. And the bottom of the snow kitty is 3 inches high. So I just went down 1 inch below it. So that way I'll be pushing that snow off and I'll have about 2 inches of snow that the tracks can dig into. And then my brakes came in. I got my Chinese quad brake caliper and all that, and I'm going to show you how I mount this, in case you're wondering how to do that. Now this thing comes with threaded holes in it, 8mm threads. So all I got to do is make some brackets to come off of there. So what I do is I'll stick it on the disc, and I'll stick it all the way down on there, and then I'll pick it up a little bit, and then you squeeze the brake lever and set the parking brake, because it's got a parking brake on it. Come on, parking brake. There we go. That way it'll hold it in place for you. Then again, with some 30 brick cardstock, I figured out, okay, that's about how I need the brackets to be. Then I took some 3/4 wide by 1/4 inch thick flat stock. So I got some beefy stock there. Then I just marked it where I wanted it. Just stuck it in the vise, leveled it off, and then I just took a hammer and beat on it. Because this is cold rolled, or hot rolled rather, I'm sorry, hot rolled. And I just bent 90s on there. Pretty simple, huh? So now, all I got to do is put little arrows on there. Where's my spectacles? I can't see without these things. So I marked it because that's got to go on to be welded to the frame. There's a threaded hole. So I'll just line these up. Actually, it goes this way. I'll line these up. I'll mark that. I'll drill a clearance hole in there. Get me an 8mm bolt. Bolt these brackets to that. Get it, boy. Line everything up. My brake pads back in there. And then I'll just weld it to the frame. Weld it all the way around, one on each side. That'll have my brakes will be in place. And my cell phone holder came. So now I can put my speed app on and we'll see how fast this thing goes. We'll see if it hits that 18, 19 mile per hour mark. We gotta have brakes first. Well, here it is. I got it all back together and we never got any snow to try it, other than that 3 inches that we got stuck in when we tried to take it for a ride. And then I made this v-plow in the front to kind of divert the snow. Now I may do some other stuff to this at a later point, to this plow, but that's what I came up with to kind of help clear the snow away. But if we want to trail ride, just trail ride with it, I can easily take these 4 bolts out and this plow will come off. And I've got the brakes, got all the brakes hooked up. And I got it all back together and we've been riding it around. And there's one other problem. The gearing. Now I know I went and I showed you all that gearing and stuff I did. And I came up with that it's going to run at like 18.8 miles an hour. And that's not the case. It actually goes a lot faster than 18 point some miles an hour. Woo! So we're going to take the plow off because we don't need it because we never got snow. And I'm going to put my speed app on my phone here. And then we're going to see how fast it actually goes. So I'm going to have to put a GoPro on me so we can look at the speed. Yeah, baby. 25 miles an hour. You saw it. So the reason it goes a little faster is because I based it off of 3,600 RPMs. We still have a governor, but I just screwed in the governor screw, adjusting screw all the way in. So this engine's probably running at maybe 4,000 RPMs now, another 400 RPMs. So of course that's going to make it go faster. But yeah, it's fast now and smooth. Because a friend of mine that built the one out of snowmobile, he says, you're probably not going to want to go faster than 18, 19 miles an hour. He says, any faster than that, it might be unstable. But man, it rode nice at 25. I thought it was fine. So the next thing we got to do, which I'm not going to have time to do now, we'll do it next fall because the season's starting to kick off now, is take it all apart and let's paint it and everything. And then I'm going to do a few things to that plow before we get snow next winter, because this thing will dive a little bit, and I'm worried about the tip of that thing digging in the ground, and that'll stop you faster than these hydraulic brakes I got on there. But I want to maybe make that spring mounted so it'll kind of give a little bit in the front, or it'll raise up and down if I hit something, and maybe possibly instead of making this such a blunt point in the front, maybe kind of angle it a little bit and then put some kind of bash plate underneath the bottom, kind of like a skid plate under it, which will kind of help make it smooth. I'll do that later. But yeah, junk snowblower, this thing goes pretty quick. Now I was just in the Caribbean a week or so ago, and I was on the island of Jamaica, man. And they had something similar to this. It didn't have this on the back. You just walk behind it, and it's called a beach cleaner. And what they do is it's got tracks on it, and it looks similar to this. We're going to show you a picture of it. It's got a little bit wider tracks. It had a 6.5 horse, I think. Might have been a little bit bigger Honda engine on it. And what it does is it cleans the beach. So it had something back here that would pick up all the like seashells or anything that was kind of sharp or gritty on the beach, plastic bottles, and deposit it into like a basket in the back. Plus it would groom the beach. It's called a Barracuda because they got all different kind of beach cleaning machines, but they made a smaller one for cleaning the beaches. So that gave me the idea, you know, you could build something like this. Say you don't want it to go 25 miles an hour. You know, I could have left it geared at 8 miles an hour, which would have been fine. And I could put like a plow back here and make like a grader out of it. You can make like a walk-behind grader. You know, you get rid of this sled that you ride on. Could probably use an old snow plow from like a riding mower and mount it on the back. You can make it adjustable. And you could use it to like walk behind grading. Like if you needed, it had a small area and needed to grate. I didn't think about that because I'm thinking about snow. You know, I'm thinking I'm going to make me a snow kitty. So yeah, their possibilities are endless. The stuff you can make out of junk. But it's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy how it turned out. Now we just got to take it apart, like I said, and paint it. Either put a seat cover on it, or maybe I can find a better seat in the meantime. And then we'll revisit it again, probably in the fall when winter's coming up, so we can take it out if we ever get snow. And it'll be all painted up and stuff. We can have some fun in the snow. So there you have it. Goes 25 miles an hour. Runs pretty smooth. So if anybody's out there wanting to build something crazy like this, I've done all the hard work for you. All you got to do is improve on my initial design. So subscribe to this YouTube channel, Taryl Fixes All. We probably told you that in the beginning, you know. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Check me out. We got over 500 videos. We got all kinds of stuff. We do everything. We don't just, you know, focus on lawnmowers. We do anything that's gas powered and beyond. I've done other stuff too. What else did I do? I did Taryl's Custom Crap, you know, where I made all kinds of custom things out of lawnmower parts, lights and stuff, which inspired Doc Neon. Remember Doc Neon? He's going to be coming up here pretty soon. We got something planned with him. But that's how he got inspired, by making those neon blower shrouds, because he saw me put a clock and a temperature gauge in one. And he neoned one up, and he made some neon ones, and I'm gonna get one from him. Go to our web store. We got all kinds of stuff there. Check it out. Maybe there's something there you want. Come and get it, pick it up, buy it. Check it out. There's shirts and hats, and got other products, glues and never sees and Loctite and all kinds of stuff. Follow me with your homemade projects, Facebook and Instagram. Check out our second channel, Taryl Fixes All Skits, where we got just the skits. If you don't want to watch all the technical stuff, you can watch the skits. And as always, there's your dinner. Woo! Homemade! Snow kitty! Gas-powered sled. Wow! 25 miles an hour. Pretty neat.